The global sociological progression and advancement of the world towards the modern and contemporary period derives its significant influence from both the direct and indirect effect of the media. The fact is that the media creates an ever-evolving institution of floating signifiers that stimulates the several departments of truth and reality formation of the global public. It also plays a significant role in the economic activity that is fueled by the consumerism culture that perceptively is the main product of media representation. The inherent operation of the media serves as an engine that manufactures the standards and is embedded within the social, political, and economic stations of the global public. To understand the accurate perception of the concept of stereotyping, we first need to understand the basis of such a social movement. Media stereotyping, in the contextual application, is the designation of a fixed and oversimplified meaning towards people and places. It is by operation the act of materializing the sole intention of media representation. The above idea guides us to the inquiry of what then is media representation, and what significance does it hold to prompt the media to engage in such a sociologically discriminating activity. How does representation influence media appreciation by the public? The representation of a subject, particularly on the conception of ideas regarding gender, age, ethnicity, national and regional identity, social issues, and events can significantly be guided towards an end goal that the media wants the general public to acknowledge and accept. The manufacturing of these suggested compelling ideas is what is known as media stereotyping. The intent to decode such an activity proposes several compelling reasons. However, the ultimate rationale for such actions may vary and depend on whichever extent of the matter that the media proposes to the audience. The common stereotypes that usually are geared towards negative representation are as follows: cultural stereotypes, social stereotypes, racial stereotypes, gender stereotypes, and religious stereotypes. The media text, this being the vehicle of the intended information of the media, can introduce a piece of manufactured information that dictates what is termed as a changing perspective on the comprehensive domain of the larger audience. This brings into crucial account the necessity to understand the idea of critical discourse analysis, especially in the pursuit of the audience in making sense of the information network that reflects the social movement of the contemporary world of today. By understanding the significant use of the critical discourse analysis, the massive public is afforded the advantage of understanding better the nature of media text that describes the discussion of the media information. The importance of media representation. The contemporary world affords the global public several technological advantages through access to high-functioning gadgets and digital instrumentation that address the need of the senses to grasp pieces of information of varying substances. The availability of televisions, films, and digital media significantly conveys the capacity to stimulate our understanding of how we see ourselves and how we see others. The contemporary tools of this period hold the essential features to break down barriers with several implications, open us all to understanding new ideas, create powerful role models, and even be a tool to inspire the global audience to improve our social and existential relationship and consciousness. However, this is only achievable by the accuracy of the information and the driving factors that compel the media to deliver in good nature and intent. The concept of the higher good is an ideal global condition. Nonetheless, the other side of the coin implies that it is perceptively realistic that the media also carry with it the capability to convey misinformation and conflicting ideas for public consumption. Nevertheless, modern people understands that the world is operating within the concept of balance, or we can call it the law of polarity, especially in matters concerning commercial priorities and industrial leverage. The very notion of operating within the concept of equilibrium emphasizes the necessity for the public to make sense of the information in the employ of critical discourse analysis, along with its standards of utility. What is critical discourse analysis? Critical discourse analysis, in simple terms, is the objective interpretation of the information through the methodical translation of the details employed by the media in its presentation of the information. It implies that the audience must be sensitive to the constituting nature of tools that are existing within the general presentation of the discussion. The audience must be anxious to understand the manners of symbolism, associations, and other relevant factors that comprise the dominant message that the media portrays. Digital media employs limitless tools to achieve an environment that appropriately supports the media text. The use of lights, supposed common knowledge regarding a particular subject, the music, ambience, and structural manner of conversation are just some of the giveaways that reflect the concealed intention of the information. The above idea is a simple suggestion for the massive public to achieve a sense of factual truth in the translation processing of these pieces of information conveyed by the digital media. Conclusively, stereotypes may come in various subjects and substances. A person may have his or her stereotype of a subject, or it may have been suggested by the mass media. The concept of stereotype in its most realistic presentation simply refers to a standardized idea that describes the nature of the usually common topic. However, there are also forms of stereotypes that designates a negative meaning to a sensitive subject that holds a ripple effect in the massive global community that sometimes spurs the environment to a drastic and not very sound social movement. Some of the best examples of highly sensitive topics that came vulnerable to stereotyping are as follows: religion, race, national politics, and other areas that can create a negatively significant impact on people's welfare. It also comes to a viable account to look into the economic persuasions that encourage the mass media to orchestrate such devastating campaigns in the global community. However, to draw an equally significant impression on the effect of stereotyping in the mass media, it does not always result in negative social translation. That being the culture, of course, of stereotyping in the mass media. Stereotyping likewise holds the capacity to create a fruitful possibility for the people involved in the topic. Let us take, for instance, the global community perceives the Filipinos to be resilient, hospitable, and hardworking. The impression itself has created jobs and acceptance of our OFWs around the world. Another example of a positive stereotyping is that the tropical climate of the Philippines is complementing the sparkling blue beaches in our regions. The exact stereotype transformed into the bread and butter of the countless Filipinos who rely on tourist and economic exchange of places that are benefiting from such a positive stereotype. The concept of equilibrium will always play a significant role in the society. There will always be the presence of good and bad, right and wrong, constructive and destructive social persuasions. However, being the people living in the age of enlightenment, we just have to be discriminating, especially against the information that helps shape our understanding of the time and of our present society.